You know what that means. Team changes were in the works. By this time, 2 of my original friends were no longer employees. I was teamed up with Carl again, as well as a few newcomers. But things got so much worse when Frank was assigned back to our shift. It turns out that the new manager got word that Frank has already been mistreating the morning shift, and she was not having it. Because of this, Frank got demoted and returned to the afternoon shift and was assigned to our team as the only one available for him. Even in his new role, Frank was still behaving like an entitled jerk, but this time he has become much more vindictive and much more apathetic. During this period of us having to work with Frank, things got so much worse. Whenever one of my coworkers was just trying to do their job, Frank would continue to upstage them, using his longtime knowledge as an excuse. Actually, he would do the same with all the other team leaders as well. One of these days, I was in a bad mood following a dispute with my supervisor over an unpaid day of work. The final straw came when I returned from lunch and witnessed how Frank called one of my coworkers a useless peasant. And this is when I snapped and yelled at him, telling him to shut up, as well as screaming about all the times he made this workplace a living nightmare. My supervisor saw this argument taking place and broke up the dispute and had me, Frank, and the coworker he was belittling called in front of HR to testify on what happened. Expecting the worst, as Frank was still friends with the HR staff, I was eventually called, as well as the supervisor that got Frank demoted, alongside the HR representative who took care of this case. After having Frank and the coworker he was belittling give their version of the entire incident, I gave my final version of what happened. My supervisor also brought some video evidence that Frank was a jerk here. I was eventually let out of the meeting with only a verbal warning for foul language. Frank was eventually suspended for a week and sent to the graveyard shift. And for the rest of that period, things were mostly peaceful. Fast forward to March of 2020, and me, Carl, and another coworker were still in the fold, but several of my coworkers had finally just quit. We all had little to no contact with Frank because we were sick of all the garbage that Frank had put us through. It goes without saying that COVID-19 pandemic already hit, and we were all in the process of going to a home office situation, which means we wouldn't have to have any contact with Frank at all. Time had passed, and we were successfully settled into working from home. The only contact we would have would be between our team, as well as our supervisor and the floor supports. But this didn't last much longer, because as of June 1st, we received a link for a Microsoft Teams meeting. To keep it short, we were informed that because of the multiple complications, the pandemic has put